Good morning, this is Omni View, episode 106, Balanced News Perspectives. Today is July 8th, 2026. We'll cover what happened, how different viewpoints frame it, so you can decide for yourself. The collapse of the US-Iran ceasefire raises immediate risks to global energy supplies and Middle East stability as strikes resume. President Trump stated at the NATO summit that the ceasefire agreement with Iran has ended following recent exchanges of attacks. The U.S. had conducted strikes on Iran in response to reported Iranian actions against ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran responded with strikes on Bahrain and Kuwait. U.S. officials framed the decision as a necessary response to broken commitments and threats to shipping lanes, prioritizing deterrence to protect international commerce. Iranian representatives described the U.S. actions as unprovoked aggression that violates the prior understanding and escalates regional tensions unnecessarily. European NATO partners expressed concern that renewed conflict could draw in additional actors and complicate alliance coordination on other issues such as Ukraine. What specific evidence links the ship attacks to Iranian forces? Shifting now to energy markets, Brent and WTI crude prices rose sharply following President Trump's remarks that the Iran ceasefire is no longer operative. Traders reacted to the prospect of disrupted supplies through the Strait of Hormuz. Energy analysts note that even brief interruptions in Gulf shipping can tighten global supply quickly, because the strait carries a large share of seaborne oil trade. Industry groups stress the importance of stable routes for maintaining affordable fuel costs worldwide. Some regional governments argue that diplomatic channels remain essential to prevent wider economic fallout. How quickly can alternative shipping routes offset any Hormuz disruption? Nigel Farage called for a people versus the establishment contest in the Clacton by-election, while facing scrutiny over an undeclared £5 million gift from a crypto billionaire. Labor and Liberal Democrats have urged him to cooperate with authorities on money laundering concerns, and most major parties have declined to field candidates. Reform UK presents the contest as a direct challenge to conventional politics and an opportunity for voters to register dissatisfaction with the status quo. Opposing parties describe the by-election as a distraction that undermines normal democratic competition and raises transparency issues. Electoral officials are examining whether reporting requirements were met. What are the legal thresholds for declaring large political donations? An El Niño expert at the European Center for Medium-Range Weather Forecasts warned that this year's event is on track to exceed previous records for intensity. The forecast draws on current ocean temperature and atmospheric data. Climate researchers highlight the value of early warnings for agriculture, water management, and disaster preparedness in affected regions. Some governments emphasize the need for coordinated international monitoring to improve seasonal predictions. Others note that historical El Niño patterns have varied widely, requiring flexible national responses. Which regions typically experience the strongest effects from strong El Niño years? NVIDIA's stock has fallen to levels last seen before the recent AI-driven rally after shedding approximately $1 trillion in valuation over less than 2 months. The decline reflects broader rotation out of AI-related shares. Investors focused on long-term infrastructure argue that current pricing still reflects sustained demand for advanced chips. Market observers tracking valuation multiples note that the drop returns the company to pre-boom earnings ratios. Technology analysts point out that rapid earlier gains made the stock sensitive to shifts in sentiment. What portion of NVIDIA's revenue depends on AI accelerator sales? Shares in emerging markets declined as investors responded to renewed Iran-related conflict and continued movement away from previous AI leaders. The dual pressures affected multiple indices simultaneously. Portfolio managers cite the need to reassess exposure to regions sensitive to energy price spikes. Some analysts argue that diversification across non-AI sectors provides a buffer during sentiment shifts. Company executives in affected markets emphasize underlying economic fundamentals over short-term trading flows. Market data confirmed the price movement. Views differ on whether the decline represents a temporary rebalancing or a more sustained reassessment of risk. AI chip startup Sambanova secured fresh investment led by General Atlantic, achieving an $11 billion valuation as investors seek alternatives to dominant suppliers. Venture firms highlight the strategic value of diversified hardware options for large-scale AI deployments. Established chip makers view increased competition as a driver for continued innovation. Startup executives stress that specialized architectures can address workloads not fully served by current market leaders. The financing round and valuation are confirmed by the participating firms. Debate centers on the speed at which new entrants can capture meaningful market share. President Trump stated that the United States needs to control Greenland for global protection, prompting Denmark to reaffirm its sovereignty over the territory. The remarks occurred alongside discussions on alliance priorities. U.S. officials present the proposal as a strategic necessity tied to Arctic security and resource access. Danish representatives describe Greenland as an integral part of the kingdom and reject any transfer of authority. NATO partners have generally avoided direct comment while focusing on collective defense topics. What existing defense agreements cover Greenland? Now, to really understand the summit dynamics at play here, most coverage treats presidential remarks at NATO gatherings as simple policy announcements. Yet the process of turning words into binding actions involves multiple layers of consultation and domestic approval. In practice, a leader's public position at the summit table initiates internal reviews by member states' foreign and defense ministries, followed by formal working group negotiations that can stretch months before any joint communiqué is finalized. Historical precedent shows that even strongly worded proposals, such as past U.S. requests for increased European defense spending, only become operational after Parliament's appropriate funds and military planners adjust force posture. Knowing this, when you hear claims that a single speech has immediately altered alliance policy, you can check whether follow-up meetings or budget documents have appeared. Next time you see a headline about a summit declaration, ask which national legislatures must still approve funding, what existing treaties already constrain the proposal, and how long similar initiatives have taken to move from rhetoric to reality. Marine Le Pen announced she will stand for president in 2027 after an appeals court shortened her office-holding ban while upholding her embezzlement conviction. She has launched a campaign website and plans to appeal further. Le Pen's supporters argue that voters should decide her fitness for office and that the legal process contains avenues for reversal. French judicial authorities maintain that the conviction stands under current law regardless of political candidacy. Opposition parties highlight the precedent of a leading candidate proceeding under a guilty verdict. What appeal options remain available under French law? Australia's largest telecom operator blamed a software defect that altered time servers for a nationwide disruption affecting mobile calls, data, trains, and emergency services. Service was restored by late afternoon. The company stresses that no evidence of external attack exists and that internal diagnostics identified the root cause. Customers and transport operators note the practical impact on daily operations and public safety communications. Regulators are expected to review redundancy measures in critical networks. The absence of a cyber attack and the software change are stated by Telstra. Discussion focuses on whether similar single-point failures exist elsewhere in the infrastructure. A new adaptation of the classic series premieres on Netflix, featuring a more diverse set of characters than earlier versions. The production aims to retain core themes while reflecting contemporary audiences. Producers argue that broadening representation keeps the story relevant without altering its fundamental values. Some longtime fans express preference for fidelity to the original source material. Media critics examine how the changes affect narrative tone and historical framing. The decision to expand character diversity is explicit in the production approach. Reactions center on whether the update enhances or detracts from the story's appeal. Radio presenter Greg James described attending Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding. mentioning conversations with Hugh Grant and Graham Norton. He characterized the evening as exceptionally memorable. Attendees highlight the private nature of the event and the enjoyment of close friends. Media outlets focus on the public interest generated by high-profile celebrity unions. The couple has maintained limited direct commentary on the occasion. The event occurred and was attended by the named individuals. Coverage varies in emphasis between personal celebration and public curiosity. Tomorrow, watch for further market reactions to the oil price surge and any updates on Le Pen's legal appeals. That's Omni. For full source links and more context, check out today's written briefing on the Omni Summaries page. As always, compare outlets, look for primary documents, and separate what's known from what's assumed. If balanced perspectives are valuable to you, share this with a friend and subscribe wherever you listen. See you tomorrow. And if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at NARA Network. Links in the show notes. And before you go, this show is part of the NARA Network, a family of daily podcasts on tech, science, and markets, each one a short, sharp briefing you can finish on the commute. If today earned its place in your feed, here's your next listen. Modern Investing Techniques, Modern Strategies for Canadian and U.S. Investors. Find every show free at naranetwork.com. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.